Richard Boone was a man of immense talent, ambition, and artistic integrity, but his journey through Hollywood was far from easy. Though he became a well-known television star, the pressures of fame, industry politics, and personal struggles eventually drove him away from the spotlight. His story is one of triumph and hardship, of a man who fought for his artistic vision even when it came at great personal cost. Boone was born on June 18, 1917, in Los Angeles, California. His father, Kirk Etnan Boone, was a successful corporate lawyer, while his mother, Cecile Lillian Beckerman, was a singer with Russian Jewish roots. Despite growing up in a wealthy household, Boone's upbringing was shaped by a mixture of discipline and creativity. His father came from a long line of Americans tracing back to Squire Boone, the younger brother of the famous frontiersman Daniel Boone. His mother's background brought a different cultural influence, creating a household where history, intellect, and art blended together. As a child, Boone was caught between two worlds. His father represented discipline, logic, and tradition, while his mother's love for music and the arts introduced him to creativity and self-expression. Growing up in Los Angeles, a city filled with opportunity and artistic innovation, Boone was surrounded by a world that was rapidly evolving. However, at this stage in his life, he had no desire to become an actor. Instead, he focused on school and sports, excelling academically and physically. At the age of 11, Boone's family moved to Glendale, California, where he attended Hoover High School. There, he became a standout football player, playing as an offensive guard under coach Vic Cameron. Football taught him the values of teamwork, discipline, and resilience, traits he carried throughout his life. However, Boone was not just an athlete, he also had a strong appreciation for literature and storytelling. Though he did not yet realize it, this early love for stories would later play a pivotal role in his career. Boone had a mischievous streak as well. He was known for his sharp sense of humor and love for pranks. One of his most famous pranks occurred during his college years when he and some friends staged an elaborate joke involving a dummy on a road near Stanford University. His restless energy kept pushing him toward new experiences, and he was never content with an ordinary life. After high school, Boone enrolled at Stanford University, one of the most prestigious institutions in the country. However, he quickly realized that traditional college life did not satisfy him. He was searching for something deeper, something real. In 1937, he made the bold decision to drop out and explore other opportunities. Boone took on a variety of jobs, each one shaping him in different ways. He worked as an oil rigger, performing hard physical labor that toughened him both mentally and physically. He dabbled in painting and writing, searching for an artistic outlet. He even took up boxing, stepping into the ring to test his endurance and strength. These experiences gave him a ruggedness and worldliness that would later define his on-screen presence. Then came World War II. In 1941, Boone enlisted in the U.S. Navy and served as an aviation ordnanceman and a tailgunner on TBM Avenger torpedo bombers. His job was one of the most dangerous in the military. He had to fire at enemy aircraft from the back of the plane while flying through combat zones. He served for 4 years in the Pacific Theater, stationed on 3 different ships. The war changed him, giving him a deeper understanding of life, death, and survival. After the war, Boone, like many returning veterans, had to start over. The GI Bill provided him with an opportunity he might not have otherwise had. It paid for his education, allowing him to pursue a new career. Boone chose acting, enrolling at the Actors Studio in New York City, a training ground for some of the most talented actors in the country. There, he studied under Sanford Meisner, who emphasized the importance of reacting, feeling, and making every moment on stage real. Boone embraced this method, developing a unique style that set him apart. His training did not stop at acting. Boone also studied movement with Martha Graham, one of the most respected choreographers of the time. Every lesson he learned, every technique he mastered, shaped him into a performer unlike any other. Without the GI Bill, none of this would have been possible. It not only paid for his training but also gave him a new purpose, transforming him from a war veteran into an artist. By 1947, Boone was ready for the stage. His Broadway debut came in Medea, a revival of a Greek tragedy directed by John Gielgud and starring Judith Anderson. The production was a major success, running for 214 performances. Boone played a soldier, a small role, but it placed him in the middle of an acclaimed production alongside some of the greatest actors of the time. Sharing the stage with performers of such caliber was an invaluable learning experience. His next major role came in 1948 with Macbeth, proving that he could handle Shakespeare, one of the biggest challenges for any actor. Then, in 1950, he appeared in The Man, a Broadway drama directed by Martin Ritt. This play explored deep themes of morality and human conflict, subjects Boone would revisit throughout his career. Boone's transition to Hollywood came in 1950 when he signed a 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox. Moving from Broadway to film was a significant step, and his deep voice and rugged features made him a natural fit for intense roles. His film debut was in Halls of Montezuma, 1951, a World War II drama. Though it was an ensemble cast, Boone's performance stood out, demonstrating the depth and realism he brought to his roles. In 1953, Boone took on the role of Pontius Pilate in The Robe, a biblical epic that became the first film released in CinemaScope. Though his role was brief, his portrayal of Pilate was unforgettable. Instead of playing him as a simple villain, Boone gave him complexity. He was a man burdened by his own guilt and choices. One of the most powerful moments in the film was when Pilate unconsciously asked for water again after symbolically washing his hands, a sign that his guilt had not left him. That same year, Boone played a dark and unsettling character in Vicky, a psychological thriller in which he portrayed an obsessive detective. This role showed his ability to play layered, morally complex figures rather than straightforward heroes or villains. By 1954, Boone's television career took off with Medic, a groundbreaking medical drama that aired on NBC. He played Dr. Conrad Steiner, a dedicated physician, and also served as the show's narrator. Unlike other medical dramas of the time, Medic aimed for realism, filming in actual hospitals and tackling difficult topics such as mental illness, infertility, and the effects of atomic bomb attacks. During the Cold War era, when people lived with deep fears, Richard Boone's portrayal of Dr. Steiner in Medic added authenticity to the show. He played the character with quiet strength, making viewers believe in both his medical expertise and his compassion. The very first episode, White is the Color, told the heartbreaking story of a pregnant woman diagnosed with terminal leukemia. At the time, this was a bold and risky choice for television, but it showed that Medic wasn't afraid to portray the harsh realities of life and death. Despite receiving critical acclaim, Medic struggled to compete with the hugely popular I Love Lucy, which aired in the same time slot. The show never attracted a massive audience, but its influence on future medical dramas was undeniable. Decades later, shows like ER and Grey's Anatomy followed in Medic's footsteps by bringing realistic medical stories to mainstream television. Boone's work on the show proved that television could be serious, intelligent, and thought-provoking. However, Boone had a complicated relationship with television. He was a dedicated actor who put his heart into every role, but he grew frustrated with the fast-paced production schedules. He felt that television prioritized speed over quality, churning out episodes quickly rather than taking the time to make them great. Network interference made things worse. NBC once cancelled an episode featuring a cesarean section birth, fearing it would be too controversial. Boone was passionate about bringing realism to the screen, but he constantly faced limitations. Still, he remained committed to Medic and worked closely with its creator, James Moser, to maintain high standards. Critics praised the show's intelligent scripts and bold storytelling, but Boone wanted more control over his work. After Medic, he moved on to have Gun, Will Travel, a show where he had more creative influence. Not only did he star in the series, but he also directed multiple episodes, shaping the show in ways he couldn't with Medic. His role as Dr. Steiner had already proven his ability to bring depth and complexity to a character. He used that same skill to transform Paladin, the refined yet deadly gunslinger in Have Gun, Will Travel, into one of television's most memorable figures. Paladin was not a typical Western hero. He was intelligent, strategic, and guided by a strong moral code. Boone brought these qualities to life, making the character intriguing and unpredictable. Unlike most gunslingers of the time, Paladin wasn't just a rugged cowboy. He was a cultured man who lived in luxury at San Francisco's Hotel Carlton. He dressed in tailored suits, quoted poetry, and enjoyed fine wine. However, when duty called, he transformed into a different man. Dressed in black, armed with a holster, and ready for action, he rode into the wilderness to confront criminals, corrupt officials, and those who threatened justice. Paladin worked as a hired gun, but money was never his main motivation. He charged wealthy clients $1,000 per job, yet often took cases for free if he believed in the cause. His calling card, a simple black card with a white knight chess piece and the words "have gun, will travel," symbolized his mindset. He was a calculated thinker, always in control, and only resorted to violence when absolutely necessary. This approach set "have gun, will travel" apart from other westerns of the time. Most cowboy heroes settled conflicts with their guns, but Paladin preferred words over bullets, reason over brute force. When he did fight, it was only after all other options were exhausted. This intelligence and depth made the show stand out. The series became one of the most successful of its time, running for 6 years with 225 episodes. It consistently ranked in the top 5 of the Nielsen ratings and even spawned a radio adaptation. Critics praised its strong writing and moral complexity, and audiences appreciated its unique take on the Western genre. The name Paladin was inspired by the legendary knights who served Charlemagne, and Boone fully embraced this idea. He ensured that Paladin wasn't just a skilled gunfighter but a man guided by a personal code of honor. Over time, he influenced the character's development, softening Paladin's obsession with money and adding humor and a deeper sense of justice. Paladin became more than just a Western hero, he became a symbol of intelligence, morality, and strength. Boone didn't just act in the series, he helped shape it. Behind the scenes, he directed 28 episodes, stepping in when the main director, Andrew McLaglen, couldn't handle the workload. What started as a necessity became a passion. Boone focused on character development, ensuring that the emotional weight of the story was just as important as the action. He worked closely with writers, including Gene Roddenberry, who later created Star Trek. Together, they made sure "Have Gun, Will Travel" was more than just another shoot-'em-up western. It was a show that explored deep questions about justice, morality, and power. Despite the show's success, Boone began to feel trapped in the role. As a trained Broadway and method actor, he was used to playing different characters. Now, he was stuck playing the same role season after season. He once compared it to drawing water from a well that kept getting deeper. While he respected the show, he longed for something new. Even though he was restless, he never let it affect his performance. He gave every episode his best effort, and fans never noticed his frustration. But when "Have Gun, Will Travel" ended in 1963, Boone was ready to move on. His next project, The Richard Boone Show, was an anthology series where he played a different role each week, giving him the creative freedom he had been missing. To stay engaged during "Have Gun, Will Travel", Boone explored other creative outlets. He directed episodes, worked alongside filmmakers like Andrew McLaglen, and returned to theater. In 1959, he played Abraham Lincoln in The Rivalry, a play about the famous Lincoln-Douglas debates. It had been years since he performed on stage, and though he was nervous, the play ran for 81 performances, reigniting his love for live acting. Boone was never afraid to speak his mind. In a 1960 interview, he called most television a waste of time, arguing that the industry cared more about profits than storytelling. He saw television stuck in a cycle of repeating the same ideas instead of creating fresh content. He warned that if things didn't change, audiences would lose interest. He was right. By the 1970s, television faced growing competition from new forms of entertainment. Boone's frustrations with Hollywood ran deep. He believed the industry treated actors as disposable, caring more about marketability than artistic talent. Even at the height of his fame, he often felt like just another name on a contract. He also disliked the behind-the-scenes culture, where actors were more concerned with perks like dressing rooms than their performances. His belief in artistic integrity shaped The Richard Boone Show, where actors had the freedom to play diverse roles rather than being stuck in the same typecast characters. By 1964, Boone had grown disillusioned with Hollywood. After the cancellation of The Richard Boone Show, He left and moved to Hawaii, a place he had loved since his time in the Navy. He hoped to build a filmmaking industry there, convincing Leonard Freeman to shoot Hawaii Five-0 entirely on location. However, his own attempt at launching a Hawaii-based series, Kona Coast, failed when CBS passed on it. During his later years, Boone's career slowed down. He took roles when he could, including Heck Ramsey, a show about an aging lawman adjusting to modern crime-solving, but Hollywood had moved on. He had fought for creative freedom and taken risks, but the industry had changed, and there was no longer a place for him at the top. Boone struggled with alcoholism and depression, possibly due to his experiences as a gunner in World War II. His drinking worsened over time, interfering with his work. In God's Gun, 1976, he walked off set before recording his dialogue, and another actor had to dub his voice. Opportunities slipped away, including a role in The Sting, which he turned down. By the late 1970s, Boone's health declined due to heavy smoking and drinking. When diagnosed with throat cancer, he refused treatment, choosing to live out his remaining years in peace. He passed away on January 10, 1981, at age 63. His ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii, where he had found solace in his later years. Despite his struggles, Richard Boone left behind a legacy of powerful performances. His portrayal of Paladin remains one of television's most unforgettable roles.